Bob Mason from FX Empire, and welcome to the daily crypto tech review of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Ripple's XRP. We're looking at the MACDs, the moving averages, the day's support, resistance, and pivot levels, and the Fibonacci's. It is Saturday, the 20th of March. Jumping straight into Bitcoin against the US dollar, looking at the hourly candlesticks. Positive start to the day. Going to need to see Bitcoin avoid a fallback through the pivot at 57,936 to take a run at the first major resistance level, saying at 59,594. We'll need support from the broader market for Bitcoin to break back through to 59s. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 60,000 to cap any upside. Event of an extended rally should see Bitcoin test last week's new swing high 61,699 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 61,139. A fallback through the pivot will bring the first major support level at 56,391 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Bitcoin should sit to sub 55s. Second major support level sits at 54,733. Looking at the MACD, we have a widening of the bearish histograms at the turn of the day following yesterday's late bearish cross. That suggested of some downside ahead. On the EMA, however, the 50 is holding its ground against the 100 and the 200. So nothing conclusive there. So keep through the early part of the day, avoid a fallback through the pivot at 57,936 and break back through to 59,000 levels to bring resistance levels into play. Failures to do that, and support levels will be in play. Across Ethereum against US dollar, also relatively positive start. Going to see Ethereum avoid the pivot at 1795 to take a run at the first major resistance level, saying at 1855. We'll need support from the broader market for Ethereum to break out from yesterday's high. It was at 1840.69. Aspiring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, should see Ethereum test resistance at 1950 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 1901. Fall through the pivot will bring the first major support level at 1749 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ethereum should steer clear of 1700, sub 1700s. Second major support level sits at 1688. Looking at the MACD, we've got a slight widening of the bearish histogram after yesterday's late bearish cross, but nothing conclusive. We could see a possible bullish cross this morning, so keep an eye on that. On the EMA, the 50 has pulled away marginally from the 100 and the 200, supporting the early upside. So keep through the early part of the day, avoid the pivot at 1795 and break through yesterday's high 1840.69 to bring resistance levels into play. Failures to do that and support levels will come into play. Moving across to Litecoin against US dollar, relatively positive start to the day. Going to need to see Litecoin avoid a fallback through the pivot at 200 to support a run at the first major resistance level at 205. We'll need support from the broader market for Litecoin's breakout from yesterday's high. It was at 204.95. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect yesterday's high and that first major resistance level to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, should see Litecoin test resistance at 215 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 209. A fallback through the pivot will bring the first major support level at 196 and the 23.6% fib at 195 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Litecoin should stay clear of sub 190s. Second major support level at 191 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACD, slight narrowing of the bearish histogram, supporting the early upside. On the EMA, 50 has pulled back marginally from the 100 and 200, with the 100 and 200 converging. So you need to keep an eye on that through the morning. To keep through the early part of the day, avoid a fallback through the pivot at 200 and move back through yesterday's high and that first major resistance level at 205 to bring 215 levels into play. Failures to do that and support levels will come into play. Moving across to Ripple's XRP against US dollar, relatively positive start today. Going to need to see Ripple's XRP avoid a fallback through the pivot at 0.4671 to take a run at the first major resistance level at 0.4752. We'll need support from the broader market for Ripple's XRP to break back through to 0.47 levels. Barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and yesterday's high 0.47499 to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, should see Ripple's XRP test resistance at 0.485 levels before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 0.4831. Fallback through the pivot will bring the first major support level at 0.4592, and there's the 38.2% fib at 0.4632 that will look to provide support. Buying and extending sell-off on the day, Ripple's XRP should stay clear of sub 0.45s. Second major support level at 0.4511 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACD, we had a widening of the bearish histograms at the turn of the day, supporting that late pullback and mixed start to the day here. On the MACDs, we're also seeing the 50 narrow on the 100 and the 200. That's a bearish indicator. So keep through the early part of the day, avoid a fallback through the pivot at 0.4671 to bring resistance levels into play. Failures to do that, the support levels will come into play.